Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rich Longa, and I'll be your host for today's presentation. Thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners webinar. Today's webinar is Audit Ready, Compliance Bound, presented by both our very own Ryan Pugh and Bobby McCullough. Ryan Pugh is our resident Workload Automation Specialist, and Bobby McCullough is our resident engineer. And Bobby has been in the IT industry for well over 20 years and started with Flycast Partners to help us expand our reach into digital transformation, not workload automation. It's been involved in the implementation of multiple tools for major multinational financial organization, software engineer for the USPS, ITIL V3 and Scrum certified with an experience in ITSM, ITFM, ITAM, and digital transformation. Before we get started, Ryan and Bobby, let me introduce our organization. Flycast Partners is here to deliver a seriously amazing IT experience. We are founded and staffed by personnel that have many years of experience in the IT space, and we took the best ideas from these collective experiences and added the best components necessary to grow and become a leading value-added reseller in the North American IT market. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in ITSM, ITAM, workload automation, capacity optimization, intelligence, and enterprise service management using nothing but ITIL best practice. Our professional services can easily scale up or down to meet the IT needs of any customer, regardless of your size, complexity, or budgetary restrictions. We offer implementation services both on-site and remote, as well as training to reinforce your company's long-term IT success. Our ongoing remote administration support service offerings will enable you to focus on your normal day-to-day operations, saving you both precious time and money. I encourage you to reach out to us at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or simply visit our website at www.flycastpartners.com. On our website, you can see all the newest and latest and greatest webinars that are about to come up in the near future. Sign yourself up, refer your friends, refer your coworkers. You can also research industry white papers and different technologies that Flycast Partners offers that may assist your organization in their rapid growth. We also encourage you to take a look at our upcoming events. We have several live events taking place in the next week alone in Nashville and Phoenix and Houston, and the week following in Orlando. So definitely come see us in person. Come join me in Orlando if you're in the Orlando area. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this presentation over to Ryan Pugh, our resident Control M specialist here at Flycast Partners. So there you go, Ryan. And go
Thank you, Rich.
Take it from there.
Appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody out there that took the time to listen today. We do appreciate it. And so I'm just going to go through really why we're here today. You know, obviously the topic is Audit Ready, Compliance Bound. And many of you guys out there may already have Control M in place, or maybe you're looking at it as an option. But one thing that we found as we talk to customers is there's a few problems that people face, regardless of the fact of if they have a robust enterprise scheduler in place. You know, as the era of regulations changes, especially if you're within a certain organization such as finance or healthcare, which is very regulated, there's times when you need to quickly resolve production batch services to meet service level requirements, or maybe you guys have a legal requirement to retain business process data for, say, the last 10 years. But in addition, we found there's also times when people need to be able to quickly satisfy compliance requirements, so they need to generate reports, and they also need to ensure that their environment is secure and observable. So by that I mean they need to make sure that there's an audit trail available should the need arise, that regulators or auditors need to come in place and take a look at what's happened. And finally, you know, it's not always an external reason why you need to have an audit trail. Sometimes internally you want to improve your operational efficiencies. So you want to see what your operators have done, what your administrators have done, see if you can recreate that, or ensure that you guys are employing your job streams or your managed file transfers or other aspects of Control M in the most efficient way possible. So those are the problems that we found people are facing, and then how are they getting around that right now? You know, one way is in the interest of an audit trail, you guys may be retaining data in an external database or a file transfer system. It could be homegrown, it could be a third-party tool, but again, it's just an additional tool that you have in your stack. You also may not be retaining the data for the length of time that you're required to. You know, some industries require 2, 5, 10 years, and you guys just may not be retaining that data for a number of considerations, space, technological limitations, what have you. And then finally, you guys may be using other management tools, and again, keeping those, and if you have a mainframe and distributed environment, you may be keeping those audit trails somewhat separate. But again, it goes back to you don't have that single pane of glass to quickly access, excuse me, your archive data. So what we're going to go through today, and I'm about to pass it to Bobby, is we're going to show you a component of Control M that allows for you to kind of satisfy those problems and those demands, but within the existing system that you already have. So if you already have Control M, archiving is just a component of it that you can utilize to, again, retain data, quickly access it should the need arise with auditors, and finally evaluate what your team is doing within the environment to ensure that operational efficiencies are achieved. But with that, I'll pass it to Bobby, and I, again, appreciate your guys' time, and give it over to you, Bobby. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, very much. So guys, today we're going to talk about how to be audit ready. And whenever I do one of these webinars, I like to try to find something relevant that's current that everybody will know about, something in the news to kind of bring the point home that of what we're trying to discuss, and really give us a starting point for the discussions. So, and part of doing that, I go out and do a search on the internet, do a Google search, or in this case, it was a Bing search, and I tried to find some audit stories that were impactful, that that kind of helped prove the point of what we're going to show you today with Control M. And really, what I found was that audits are everywhere. That people are being asked to do them, people are being fined for the results of them, people are finding out that they can't perform audits. I mean, it's all over the news. And really, the key that I found, the key story that I found was it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. The search itself returned over 28 million results when I tried to find some recent news stories about audits. So that just really goes to show how important this topic is and relevant to today's organizations. So what is Audit Ready? The goal of Audit Ready is not 100% compliance. 100% compliance is costly or impossible or both to attain. You should, however, be as prepared as possible at all times to respond to an audit should it occur. Doing this is going to limit your organization's exposure to risk, but what should you be prepared to do, or what should you be prepared as possible to do? The first thing is deliver all the required documentation and data that's related to your business processes and logs. Today, machine-generated data is compliance data, and that certainly applies to workload automation or batch processing. In the Control M annual survey of our customers, 50% of the respondents indicated that they have to save their log data for sometime between 1 and 10 years. So everybody has requirements around those logs. But that's a lot of data to store, not to mention what else might be required just so that you can be compliant. but you've got to be able to deliver that required documentation when requested with as little impact on the business as possible from both a time and money perspectives. Responding could mean throwing bodies at a problem to assemble and compile the necessary data, but this needs to be limited wherever possible. And finally, each organization must determine how they must respond to the risk associated with an audit, whether that includes some type of insurance or money plan behind it to ensure that they're covered. Being audit ready really means what your organization that your organization is in the best possible position to respond if and when required to do so. So Control M Workload Archiving helps you by helping you retain and then retrieve log and output data associated with Control M workload processing. So using Control M in your organization to manage all workload processing is going to set the stage for the added value that this archiving brings. Your users can set up policies to define the data that they want retained and the length of time that data needs to be retained. So, in other words, HR-related data may only need to be retained as long as someone is employed, or maybe a year post-employment. But financial data may need to be retained for 7 years. So those kind of policies can be defined. Once they're defined, it's automatically moved and retained in the archive. The data is moved in near real time. You're not going to be waiting hours or days for it to be collected and retained or moved. It happens immediately upon the job completion, whether it was successful or not. Now, you may have some homegrown archiving solutions, but the big challenge with most of those is accessing the specific data that you need. It's easy to get the data in the archive, but a lot harder to pinpoint what it is you want to get out of the archive. Control M provides an easy, intuitive, and comprehensive search tool. So audit and compliance is a key part of today's business process in our regulatory environment. The machine-generated data plays a huge role in compliance and IT auditing. Workload archiving makes meeting IT audit and compliance requirements much easier. Those policies set up for storing the data ensure that it's retained for the proper length of time, or in other words, the legal life of the data. It also makes it easy to retrieve it when someone requests it. We have one customer that has a requirement that twice a year they review all failed jobs just to take a look at continuous improvement in the batch operations team. So this means that the IT operations folks have to collect and deliver all the log data associated with the failure to the IT auditors. Workload archiving makes this request easily fulfilled. It's just a matter of the proper search and exporting it to a file, filtering on just those failed jobs, exporting the logs to a report, and then you can send it away. So I'm sure you guys have had use cases similar to this. And when you're in this kind of position, you can provide IT auditors the data from Control M, access to Control M through a self-service tool, and let them retrieve the information themselves. So that way it really totally eliminates the need for you to be involved and spend time generating those reports. And I'll show you what that screen looks like here in a bit when we jump out of the slide deck. But the benefits don't stop there with workload archiving. So this really extends over to operations as well, because when a job fails in production, more than likely it needs to be resolved immediately. But if not, the impact, it can impact the delivery of important business services. Now, developers and IT operations staff rely on historical data to help them resolve those production failures. But with Control M Workload Archiving, they have ready access to all that data. The archive is fully integrated with the tool, so they can jump right to that data when they're in the tool. So it makes accessing that data easy. Once it's accessed, you can filter it and do comparisons, and I'll show you a bit of that when we jump over to the tool. Very, very user-friendly and makes it easy to get what you need out of the system. The main thing here, though, is that both development and operations can have access to the same data and the same interface. So they have a shared or common view of the data for problem solving. This is going to eliminate a lot of iterative efforts in the problem-solving process and allow dev and ops to collaborate on problem-solving when it's needed. So just like continuous improvement is a journey, archive data can be used for more than just problem-solving. It can be also used to get insights about your batch services and how they run. So schedulers and application developers can use real data to help them understand trends in run times and processing loads. They can view the history of specific jobs or workflows to help them understand the modifications that have been made over time or even a failure rate. This can be very helpful to developers that are working on new applications. Data from the archive can then be exported into Excel spreadsheets for easy analysis. So you can see there's a lot that we can do with the tool. Let's jump out of the PowerPoint here and take a look at the tool itself. So this is the Control M back office client or thick client. We're going to look at the portal, the self-service portal in a minute. But this is where your workload managers would be. You have control over how many days worth of archived viewpoints are available just from history. And you can always access those from here and drill into those details. But you've also got the archive search here where you can pull up and perform a search on the system. It can be an advanced search as well. So you've got lots of options here for how you're going to go in and find the log and output data from these jobs. It can be based around time frames, information in the output, information in the logs, which Control M system it was a part of, which service groups or systems you have defined it to be a part of, what host groups and those type of things, all those attributes that you would need to be able to find and nail down to that specific job or task that you're looking for. This search should allow you to do that. The tool's handy where it allows you to have multiple searches going on here in the same screen. So here, if I select one of my jobs, I can see the details about it here on the right. And it gives me the information, the general information about that particular job. This is a backup that I've set up for my laptop, so it does a check disk and some other things. So it gives me that general information, so I have an idea of the job in general. Again, where, when, who, all those type of questions are answered here. But then there's also the log from the job itself, and then the output that the job received when it was run. So the handy thing here is actually being able to do comparisons. So let's compare these two here, and you can see here on the you notice the first one I grabbed is color coded in green. The second one is color coded in red. And I can see right here from the output, I can see the green job. I can see all the statistics, everything that came from the output of running that check disk on a little backup drive that I have. This is where the job failed, and it tells me right away it could not open the volume for direct access. So this is where I was traveling, and I wasn't home with my backup drive connected to the laptop. And so I can see right away, see those differences in the tool, find out what's the differences in the tasks, and find out what happened, really get to the details quickly. The tool allows me to have multiple search windows open. So if if you've got lots of jobs you're trying to pour through and really doing several advanced searches to try to nail down some specific jobs that you're trying to find, that may be helpful, having that information up there. as well as the ability to export it. So when you get a list of the jobs, you can always export that to a CSV file that can then be opened in Excel or whatever tool and used for any kind of reporting purposes that you might need. Now I want to pull up the self-service portal. And so if you're familiar with Control M, you've seen this self-service portal before, that you have the ability in Control M to define roles and users, find roles and what users can access those roles, what they can do once they access that role, and what data they have access to within that role. So here, I'm only able to see my jobs that are a part of the bigger system. Here I've got a document backup and I've got an order shipment jobs. But the same is true of my archive searching as well. So here I can go and I can search backup. And very quickly it returns that information. I've got the same capabilities here that I had on the thick client on the inside. Here's my advanced search. Log output contains, log contains, servers, who, what, where, when. All those same types of questions can be used to narrow down the job that we're trying to find, as well as the output being this information being downloadable and exportable. So that means that just like we were saying a minute ago, if you're if you do have to provide some audit information, it's possible to provide the auditor with this view of the system where they can come in and just get the information when they need it, and totally eliminates the need for you to have to go in and provide those reports. So workload archiving makes retaining and accessing historical data fast and easy. This results in improved service delivery because you're resolving problems faster and providing a framework for continuous improvement. Increased productivity of both application developers and IT operations staff results from immediate access to information and the ability to collaborate as needed, to troubleshoot or make changes to batch jobs and workflows. Finally, this is going to allow you to reduce the cost of your business operations through those efficiencies and collaboration. Rich, this is all I had prepared for today. Do we have any questions so far, or?
I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A section here, but if you have questions, folks, now's the time to do it. We have Bobby, and he can answer them directly now. Just type your questions in the Q&A section of this WebEx. We appreciate your time today, Bobby, in this presentation. You and Ryan, thank you so much. If there are no questions, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank everyone. I want to thank everyone who attended today's presentation, and wish you all a great rest of your week.